All right. Thanks. So I'm Wen Hai-sun at Purdue University. So I'm an assistant professor currently. This is a joint work with the Xiao Guangli, Zitali, and my colleague Ninghui Li. All right. All right. So LDP enables that the distributed privacy-preserving data collection. Right. So the server never sees your raw data in this case. Formally, in LDP, this randomized algorithm, right? We consider the epsilon LDP if and only if for any two inputs x1 and x2, the probability of outputting the same result t is upper bounded by the e to the power of epsilon. So the epsilon here is the privacy budget. The smaller epsilon usually means better privacy by injecting more noise in this case. So if we consider the threat model of the LDP, the users, we assume they're honest, right? They never cheat. They submit the true data. Though despite the noise injection, right, we consider that the result is truthful, right? So only in this case that the server is untrusted, right? But in practice, those users are vulnerable, right? They can be controlled by the attacker. So attackers control a small group of users. They can inject the fake data to the data collection process, right? In order to manipulate the final result. So this is called data poisoning attack, and which has been recently discovered and studied under various settings for different attack goals. Right. The impact here is profound because in this case, the server and the honest users, they can both be the victims. Right. So for the server, for example, they may receive the false data. Right. They may become reluctant to use LDP in the future. They don't trust this tool. Right. And for the users, say the targeted internet groups, they are also concerned with, say, the stealthy censorship, right? Or the opinion, their opinion can be suppressed by the attackers, right? So that's the problem here, right? So this is the threat model, a more realistic threat model we're facing. All right. So in this study, unlike the prior work, focusing on the attack discovery, here we advance the research by investigating the robustness of the protocols, right? Specifically, we propose new metrics for the robustness measurement, and we also review new, design factors actually that help boost the LDP security. And based on that matrix, we also, we can enable the fair robustness performance protocol comparison, which leads to, protocol recommendations, right? And also explore the effective mitigations. In order to achieve those goals, we design a attack-driven robustness evaluation framework, and we propose the data poisoning attack to simulate the adversarial environment, and then in which we analyze the protocol performance. And we also explore the defense, the zero-shot detection, to strengthen the security of the vulnerable protocols. All right, so here we focus on the numerical attributes, specifically the distribution estimation, which can provide useful statistical information about the underlying data. And we assume that the attacker can control beta percentage of total end users, right? And they can control those users to craft fake values in the output domain of LDP perturbation is because the user control those local LDP instances. They can do that. And we assume the attacker knows some relevant parameters, for example, the epsilon. All right, the goal here is very straightforward. The attacker wants to push that distribution to the rightmost bin of the domain, right? You can also push that to the left. It doesn't really make too much sense. Too much difference, all right? So we consider symmetrical cases here. There are more, may exist more advanced attacks, right? But our goal here is that we want to start with the most intuitive one, and also we hope that our analysis can, help the future research in this field. We also consider a baseline, which is the input poisoning attack. So in this case, the attackers behaves like the honest users, right? They will not bypass that LDP perturbation. Instead, they just supply the false data to the LDP instance, right? And we consider this a universal attack, and also it represents the minimum damage the attacker can make to the system, right? So we use that as a baseline. So the first metric we propose, the ASG, that's the absolute shift gain, right? This is a very straightforward indicator of the distribution change before and after attack, right? Higher ASG means the better attack efficacy, but lower robustness of the protocols. But the problem is that this metric is sensitive to the underlying data distribution, and also it can be affected by beta, that is the fake user percentage, right? And also it's not really straightforward for us to to show the relative advantages of some protocols, in terms of the robustness when compared with the baseline attack, right? So to address that problem, we propose another metric. This is the shift gain ratio. This is the, basically it's a normalization. It's normalized by the ASG of the baseline attack, yeah. So in this case, we can measure the attack gain at the perfect user level. So it means that we can measure the performance, the robustness independent of beta, all right? And also it's enable us to do the, a fair comparison across different protocols. All right, we conduct experiment with both synthetic and real-world data sets. We target the state-of-the-art protocols for the distribution estimation, including the categorical frequency oracles with binning, such as the GRR, OUE, HST, and OLH. Right? We differentiate the server setting and the user setting depending on who actually selects the hash function. In the server setting, the server chooses the hash function for the end users. Right? We also consider the direct, the distribution reconstruction protocols, for example, the SW mechanism here. All right, so we highlight some results here, right? So for more information, please read our papers. So we can see that regardless of the epsilon and beta, SW and the server settings of the protocols, the OLH server and HSD server, they are the most robust one, right, among all the tested protocols, right? The reason is that we actually found that for the SW protocol, the smoothing step, right, as a the post-processing step in SW plays a very important role to boost the security. It averages the frequencies of the polluted beans with the agents with the surrounding beans, and thus reducing attack gain. The server setting, since the server, the hash function is chosen by the server, which means that the attacker has less freedom to explore, to find the right hash function to support the target beans. All right, so that's why these protocols are more robust. We also observe that the OLH server is slightly robuster than HST server user. This is because in the OLH server, a user, the attacker can choose that hash function, but this to support the target beans. But this process is it's a random process, right? It's not, always the attacker can find the optimal hash function, right? That would, to affect the attack. And the GRR OOE HST user turns out they are the least robust protocols in this case. So if you look at that, the graphs here, they can achieve that upper bound, right? They can achieve the theoretical upper bound of the SGR, right? It means that the attacker can control a very small percentage of users, right, to achieve the maximum attack gain in a baseline attack. Right? For example, the baseline, say, 100% of the users, they're malicious. They can easily achieve that, right? All right. So that's the problem. So, and also we found some, new design factors affect the LDP security. Prior study reviews that the price and budget, right? That's epsilon affects the privacy and the security. Either privacy and security, they either have a trade-off relationship or they're consistent depending on the attack goals. We found that the hash domain size G in OLH actually is also very important here. So smaller G also, makes the protocol more robust. All right. So basically, you can tweak G for security and utility. If you don't know how to choose it, I would suggest you use the OLH, right? OLH is not always, it's not give you the best in terms of the security, but it does a decent job in most of the cases, right? Another thing is the smoothing step, as I already mentioned, that post-processing actually is very important here. We should consider it in the protocol design. We also design zero-shot detection, which means that you don't need to know the underlying data. You don't need to know what attack strategies the attackers are using. We compared it with the method that's designed for the categorical data because there's no prior work, for the numerical distribution. So we adapted that protocol and used that as a baseline. The main idea is that we want to, the randomness of the fake data is statistically different from the, LDP randomness. So we want to capture that difference. And in order to detect that difference, we conducted 2 rounds reconstruction, right? And we measure the W1 distances between the perturbed results and forms 2 groups of distances, and use the second group, that's the G-ban, as the benchmark because there's no attack. And we apply the 2-sample KS test to detect the behavior, malicious behavior. So here's the results, a lot of numbers, but they're consistent. All right, so the horizontal line, the short line means 0. All right, that's the performance of our baseline. All right, so we can see that our detection outperforms the baseline in all tested cases. All right, and also the detection shows better results with growing beta and decreasing epsilon. So this is expected because in these cases the attacker is stronger. All right. AUC is relatively low for server setting because in these settings, these protocols are more robust than others, so the signals is also relatively weak, all right? So what's next? I really encourage, the research community to rethink the role of security in LDP design, all right? Because the threat is real, right? So we need to consider, in the initial design rather than, to mitigate the risks, mitigate the threat, right? This is very important. Another thing is that we need to systematically explore to think about the defense, right? In addition to detection, we also need to think about the data recovery. Right? This is very, very important, for example, that LDP post-processing. Right. In addition to that utility boosting, these LDP post-processing can play an important role in recovery data, because in some cases that recollecting data is not possible, right? So how to, to recover the data as much, recover as the useful information as much as possible is very important here, right? So we should consider that. All right, to conclude, we designed a robust evaluation framework and studied the state-of-the-art LDP protocols for distribution estimation. And we observed that the SW and the CFO being under the server setting are the most robust one. You should use them if you consider, you're worried about the data poisoning attack in practice, right? And also we review some new design factors. These should be considered in the future LDP design. We also propose new zero-shot detection, which is also potentially can be applied to other settings. So please read our paper for more information. I think I'll stop here to take your questions. Thank you.
We have time for a quick question. Nothing? Okay. You started by saying, okay, the attacker goal was to move the distribution right shift on the right. Mm-hmm. What if he has a different purpose, like just increasing the average of the distribution of a given quantity and so on? Does this zero-shot detection method works again?
Should work. Should be working. Because we consider the statistical difference between the fake data and and the LDP randomness, right? So we really don't care about what the strategies they're using here. So, but we haven't tested that yet. But my guess is, this should be working.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
again for this interesting work.